Hello, and welcome to the Capacity Conversations, where two women from each coast have challenging dialogue about self-trust, transformation, and the reality every human is facing today. Do we actually have the capacity to do the things we want to do? My name is Sarah Liljegren, and I am on a mission, you could say, to rewild real estate, whatever that means. But I am constantly caught up in hopes versus dreams. And so I am here today to have that kind of conversation in context of capacity to do all the things with my co-host.
Raquel Sands. I'm so glad to create this space with you, Sarah. It's been so lovely. I feel like we're already, soulmates, I don't know what other synonyms, but like we're in this together, and I love your energy. I'm Miriam Raquel Sands. I am a career clarity coach. My mission is to help people find and or create their path, whether that's in business, in a 9-to-5 corporate structure, or a bit of both. Living in this day and age, we can't just commit to one path. It's evolving and pivoting. So today, in our first episode, we will be sharing our origin stories, who we are, how we came to be here, how we got to our missions, and what all this means with capacity. So I will hand it off to Sarah to start us off.
Thanks, Raquel. I love the image of us being on both coasts and encompassing this conversation as it relates to our generation. We are both millennials, and that's where we first hit it off. We're actually the same age. We're both 32 here in 2025. And I found it incredibly validating to hear from someone all the way on the other side of the country that you too struggle with, I'm doing this 9-to-5. I'm learning skills. I have found myself, here I am in my early 30s. With all this experience that isn't necessarily in the area of the things I love and bring me alive and light me up and make me feel like a blessing and an asset to my village. And that's a dream or like a vision that I've held of, where is my village? Where's my people? A question that you said, or something you said, Raquel, in our very first conversation is, where's the harvest? Like, we have been working in high noon our whole adult lives. And I understand that the story that we're told is we get the harvest when we're 65 and we're ready to retire.
Oh my gosh, no way.
And or later, they're bumping their retirement age back. And so we have conversations planned, diving deep into certain aspects of humanity and what it takes to wrestle with these things. And so today we're starting with origin stories and the power of them. And that's why we're going to be sharing our own to give a little context and lay the groundwork. And you might honestly think future conversations are more interesting than this one, but we're going to kick it off and we'll see how this goes.
The seed. Come on, y'all. I mean, like
the seed.
Yes.
Cool. So this is do you have any questions or something you want to say before I just dive in, Raquel? I'm also thinking you can jump in and ask me questions anytime.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I mean, I guess this is very raw. We're very rugged, I think. No questions. I'm very curious because this is the first time I think both of us really peeling back. I mean, I feel like we already have pulled back layers, but I think in a deeper way. And I think it's important because in a day and age where vulnerability is really hard, even though there's cameras to everything, that's not to say that there's transparency and authenticity and nakedness. I mean, I just give you love and light and surrender to whatever you want to share today. So.
Well, I'm very curious myself what's about to come out of my mouth, because when I was really thinking on this and I wrote an outline of like, these are significant things about who I am that have formed me. And what I came up with, what I started with was certain years of my life that transformed who I was. And obviously 1992, big one, I came into this realm. And then there were some years, like 2008 hit my family hard, and that shifted things. 2001, when 9/11 happened, absolutely changed. Like, what do you mean? What is terrorism? I was in third grade, I think.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Mm.
certain, oh man, I feel like I'll just ramble. Because to say something about that 2001, and I am not alone in this observation. I was in third grade and I witnessed this, in my whole entire adult life I have said,
Mm.
that is the most unified I've ever seen our country, was
Yeah,
after a terrible, terrible thing.
that's right.
And when the pandemic happened in 2020, another absolutely transformative period of my life, I heard other people say that, like, is this what it takes? Is
Right.
this what it takes? When we're all pushed beyond our capacity, when we're all overwhelmed completely, we're all actively being traumatized.
Right.
Our history is changing in front of our eyes, and our society is breaking in ways that we don't like. And so we're forced to become something more and to transcend our ugliness to become better people. And that just I've challenged that
Mm.
narrative of, like,
Mm.
okay, maybe on a national scale, this is just the way it is. Maybe I can focus my intentions on my community, my family. I heard years ago, if you want to change the world, start with your hometown.
Yeah.
And that's actually where I started my first business, was Independence, Missouri. I was born in Independence, Missouri.
Okay.
And I currently live outside of Spokane, Washington now. I had a huge journey to get here, and I'll try to be concise and clear with some of that journey today. So, like I said, I was born in the early 90s. The first, I did not think I wanted to start with this, but I think I'm going to say it in a way that lays ground for how vulnerable we want to be with this show. So I'm just going to say 1999, another big year. Wait, 92? No, might have been 96 or 97. I don't know. I was about 6 or 7 years old
Yes.
when um when I was I don't want to say sexually abused, but something happened to me that changed. Yeah, just molested, right? So I was very young, and so that was transformative, because at that point I had been raised in a church
Okay.
where there was a very clear doctrine and dogma,
Right.
and I will get into the layers of that. But when that happened to me, when I was I want to say 6.
Yeah.
I remember clamming up. My spirit closed in a way that I don't think I allowed to open until I was 29.
Wow.
Because I went at that age, I moved from Missouri to do this program at Wilderness Awareness School called the Immersion.
Oh.
And the immersion truly was like a baptism into a village life and culture
Wow.
that for 9 months, and think about 9 months, what other cycle is 9 months that allows rebirth and transformation? Just to let go. I was truly, like, unplugged. And so my heart cracked open in a way that helped me reframe and be able to talk about this. The thing is, like, I used to be terrified of video form and, like, putting my face out there. So to talk about this publicly is not like a natural thing. It's not an easy thing. I think it's a necessary thing to show people that in the context of capacity, we are struggling with our humanity. We're struggling with bills to pay. We're struggling with struggle. And I don't want to say it's all the struggle, right? There's a lot of joy and skills. And that's where I find, like, Raquel's work, your work, so beautiful.
Thank you.
Because you're targeting people like me, essentially, to say, hey, I know you're burnt out, but, like, you have a purpose. Do you think you can still tap into that? And I think a lot of people that I've met are like, no, they either don't want to, or they don't have, or they feel like they don't have to, or it's just not that interesting to them. You know, I had a wonderful conversation yesterday with someone who's very happy in, like, the blocks of work that they do. And I and there was something in me that's like, can I like have some of that brain?
Yeah.
Because I wonder truly
Yeah.
if that's what we're working toward, is like, how do I find my part of my
Mm.
purpose? How can I bless people with this set of skills that
Mhm.
I've worked toward? How can I narrow my vision?
That's right. That's right.
And so, yeah, maybe these are just stories of general life overwhelm where we're finding clarity and capacity to do more and change our story.
Yes.
So I'll move on. The church I was raised in from that age and then beyond helped solidify for me certain ideals.
Okay.
We were considered non-denominational, but looking back, we were, I think, just another flavor of denominational Christianity.
Do you mind saying what it was? I don't mean to put it on the spot, but if you feel comfortable.
Sure. Well, the Church of Christ has a lot of different sects.
Okay. I've not heard. Okay.
And when I say that to some people, they're like, oh, but they allow women preachers and they're really progressive.
Okay.
Not in rural Missouri. And there's absolutely pockets of different ways. And in my community, we knew which congregations were liberal and sinful and which ones were walking with God. And that was a mindset that I remember knowing in my being, that we were the saved ones and everyone else wasn't. And to unlearn that,
Yes,
I still struggle with it. And so maybe mine is one of like religious trauma that transformed into a more, what I consider to be like a true Christian walk, is not what's happening in a lot of church buildings.
Yeah.
And I, gosh, could do a whole series just on this, and we will dive deep into faith.
Well, yes.
In a future episode, because there's like statistics and things that I want to get into with that. But yeah, where to go from that? I mean, I truly loved the church.
Yeah.
It was a big part of my life. I was a missionary.
Wow.
I taught vacation Bible school.
Wow.
Part of our belief system was that, and it's in the verse, women keep silent in the church. We took that very literally. If I was teaching Bible class and a man were to walk into my classroom, which they could do if they wanted, I would have to stop teaching, because it shouldn't be perceived that a woman is teaching a man. It had to go the other way around.
Wow.
Extreme modesty. I remember I went to Bible camp for like 12 years in a row.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go the year before I was eligible because I was just so excited to go to camp. And I did. I was like the youngest camper that week or that year. And they changed the rules later, but I remember being told to change my clothes for showing my ankles.
Oh,
and so that's another example of like the sense of shame I felt about my body for being in a body. The narrative that was that we were less than.
Yeah.
And not every, because I went to church 3 times a week for close to 20 years, did all the things.
Yeah.
And so this story sunk in me in a way that I did not realize those mythical stories, but stories of the Bible, in which I believe a lot of, are in me. They're just a part of me. And so I can't let go of the love that Jesus actually talked about in his ministry. I can't let go of it. And I feel like I've transformed it in a way that that I'm relating to faith in a way that I feel safe in my body. And I think that is everything in my story.
Yeah.
So because of that, I love holidays, holy days. I think seasonal, I essentially left the church, left being a fundamentalist, legalistic Christian, and started studying herbalism. I got really into astrology. I tell people Like I did the full switch, like witch in the woods. I have pentacles and moons and spirals tattooed on my body.
Yes.
And I became that. And so that was my first business, was Scorpio Rising Botanicals. I started a little herb company because I'm a Scorpio rising. I'm a
Oh my
Libra sun, Sagittarius moon.
know this. I didn't even know any of this. Okay, well, learning the things. It's all good.
Yeah. I and Leo midheaven. I think we talked about midheaven.
I think we did talk about, yes, that we
So
did.
I started to learn these other ways of seeing the world that
Mhm.
weren't a fundamentalist Christian viewpoint.
Yeah.
And what I learned was when I surrounded myself with feminists and witchy women and plant people, and nature people, who one lady I had an interview with on my podcast a while back, called it like the love for creation over the creator. And
Oh,
depending on your path, you know, the creator,
oh,
it's just, that's what I saw. And what I saw was, this is the same fundamentalist, like, box thinking as
yeah,
the community I just left.
yeah.
And so the bitterness
Mm.
I found to be
Hmm.
what opened my eyes.
Wow.
And so when I started to narrow down, okay, I want to be known for working with plants. This is my passion. I mean, I found God when I walked into the forest. Okay, like after leaving that, I found it. I'm like, plants are my thing. And so I started to narrow my business, and I was like, I'm going to focus on these certain products, and herbal bitters was something I just dove. I still sell bitters online and at markets. And so how can we microdose bitterness in a way that allows for transformation is still something I think about all the time. And it's what I see in others now, is like, okay, I can tell you're frustrated. I can tell you're stuck on something. And in my work now, because I work in agent services and I'm a marketing manager for a real estate firm. And so when I work with real estate agents now, I still have my license. And so I hope to navigate how to do sales again someday. I have no idea.
You're doing it. It'll all work out.
It's fine. It's fine.
It'll all make sense after.
Yeah. But yeah, I can see, I don't know. I think because I've allowed my heart to open, I can see other people's struggles, and I have more compassion than I used to. I truly do. I think the mindset that I was given growing up gave me such rich values that have never left me. And they gave me a mindset that I mean, it just, I don't know, was a starting point. So
yeah.
I've gone Christian, witch, animist, mystic, some sort of cycle in there. And I've gotten lost in myself many times. And so I don't know what some other.
Can you define what bitters are? I know there's so much more richness from there, but what my brain was like, what are bitters? Because she said microdosing, and I've microdosed mushrooms, but not bitters. So I'm so curious for that.
Totally. I feel like I just made up microdosing bitterness. I think I wrote a blog, or I did it in a class. So before I left Missouri, it was like the universe was just like, are you sure you want to change your life and transform and move to Washington? Because as soon as I decided I was going to move to Washington to attend Wilderness Learning School, all these things in my community, in my hometown of Kansas City area, started happening. And I was teaching classes, and I had all these orders, and it was attempting, like, are you sure this is I don't know. I still think, and the same thing happened when I left the west side of Washington to move to the east side of Washington. Certain little things were like, are you sure this could be great?
Wow.
And I want to talk about that phenomenon in the future. But in this class, I gave everyone a little bottle of bitter herb extracts. So I make my own little herbal bitter concoctions. I don't have a bottle near me, but where I infuse plant material and alcohol the same way you make a tincture, but I choose bitter herbs specifically, and I do a blend where they're all together. And the more bitter the plant, like gentian root, it makes your mouth like go like this.
Oh.
Um,
Oh.
and embodiment. Oh my gosh, this is a whole thread. I found my body in 2017, 2018. That's another key part. And this was a part of this transformation for me because
Wow.
when you are upset about life and
Yeah.
you don't like what you're doing, people usually can see it on your face.
That's
And I
right.
know people
That's right.
where
That's right.
it's just stuck like this.
That's
Pursed
right.
lips and
Yeah.
like furrowed brow. Sometimes
Yeah.
there's like a squinty, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and that you can learn a lot
Mm.
from somebody just by how they respond to you in conversation
That's right.
and just how they approach what should be neutral
That's right.
dialogue.
That's right.
And people anymore, absolutely in 2025, are so charged that it's hard to talk about anything meaningful and big and vulnerable without having big, complex, often immature responses to
Right.
the topic. And so taking a drop of bitters on the tongue forces your face and your body, your whole body,
Yes.
to contract in a way. And once it gets past here and it starts to stimulate things like your salivary amylase, the enzymes in your saliva,
Yeah.
hydrochloric acid in your stomach, the bile from your liver,
Amazing.
even though it's like contracting, it actually is opening.
Wow.
And we have bitter receptors all over our body, just like the cannabinoid system. And so I'm like, this addiction to sweet in our country, I think comes from a lack of facing the truth like well-regulated adults.
Yes.
And also the lack of training our palate to enjoy like the things in their more natural state. We're addicted to synthetic sugar.
Yes.
That should never have been that sweet.
No. Yeah.
So it's almost like this lie about reality. And oh my gosh, one of my favorite movies. Oh, it's not The Big Short. It's the other one about the '08 crash. I'm fascinated by the '08 crash from a real estate perspective.
Is
But
this Wolf of Wall Street? Is this?
Oh
no.
No, I'll think of it later. Maybe I'll put it in the notes for later. But
Yeah.
one character, he talks about they're working in the stock market, and the story is they knew it was going to happen before it happened, but they sold all their positions knowing that they were worth nothing. And so by the end of the day, the thing that started the whole cascade of what crashed our economy, that mentality was, it's not real. That was his point in this little part of the dialogue. We are here to help people live like kings and queens. Because I just bought this house, okay? It's not paid for.
Right.
Like, I mean, we put money down.
Right.
But so we're in this illusion that we own something.
That's right.
But in reality, we own a lien, we own a note, we own debt.
That's
and
right.
in our country, debt has become an asset.
Yeah.
And other people absolutely disagree, and still people build wealth using debt.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I'm incredibly curious about that. My interest and knowledge in finance and economics wasn't really there. I was interested in politics, but more because I like grew up with people screaming at each other on the news, and I'm like, is this, I'm curious what they're talking about, but I can't listen to this. And so it's just I've been very curious about, I guess, all those threads that I'm talking about.
Sagittarius in moon, so, and I'm Sagittarius rising, so maybe that's how we vibe.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and well, I don't know where I want to go from here, because before and after moments.
Yeah, sure. I was gonna talk about the bitters again if you wanted to keep going down that.
Okay.
About the bitters part, and then so that business. So when did you, so in Missouri, did you start your herbal business, and then that led you to um the I don't want to call it survivalist, but like that 9 month and then that, or and then so I guess like I think that's where we were, or at least that's where I was with your story.
Yeah.
I don't know where everyone else is with her story, but let us know where you are on the story.
That's a key, like before and after, because when I brought my first little LLC to the market, it was at the Independence Farmers Market. Right now there's a big fancy structure there, but before there was a structure, we used to have that market in another little parking lot, full sun, so I'd have to bring tents, but I was put in a corner of that parking lot right next to a giant rock that said Trailhead. And that trailhead was where pioneers would come from the East Coast. The gateway to the West was St. Louis. That's why the arch is there. And they would make it to Independence. And there was a trailhead, and you could choose a trail, the Santa Fe Trail, the California Trail, or the Oregon Trail.
Oh my gosh.
And people will, of course, hopped on those trails all over, but that was a confluence for a lot of settlers. And that was a big part of my influence too. And there was something in me that like called me out west, right? It's just this American manifest destiny dream of what's out there. I grew up in like the humid plains. I mean, I love the Midwest, and the air is just different up here on the west side, so
100%.
mountains, it's just
That's for sure.
But what called me up to Washington wasn't like, here's the true before and after moment. I didn't move up there to like build on a business dream. I went to Washington for the first time for a parkour retreat with Evolve Move Play. Evolve Move Play is fantastic. Look them up. And Rafe is wonderful, and his whole team, Kyle. And they led a retreat, a 10-day summer retreat for parkour, and I started taking his online course. I met Rafe through a different yoga workshop in Texas. So this was the first maybe then, because I was at a yoga workshop in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
For embodied yoga principles. I took my yoga teacher training in 2017-18. That's when I discovered I had a body, because I slowed down for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
And that yoga school is right next door to a restaurant I was managing in Kansas City. I was like 23. I turned 24 years old, and I was running 2 restaurants in downtown Kansas City. And I was like, this is really stressful, like really, really, really stressful. But it was all the experience I had was restaurants. And so to go up into management was just the next thing. Did I know that like I really wanted to do that? I mean, it was fun, but I learned then that I didn't want to do that because I was losing myself. I couldn't feel, I just didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And so I discovered I had a body in yoga school. After yoga school, I was like, but there's more. I'm on a journey for like deciphering. And so regular yoga was like, what's more? And so I discovered this course called Embodied Yoga Principles that takes you through a psychological kind of like coaching style routine and practice through movements. And so there was yes pose, there was no pose, there was receiving pose, there was giving pose. So how do you feel and relate to these archetypal ways of being? I found that fascinating. I still find it fascinating.
Yeah.
I still do that work with myself. And I was at one of these trainings, first United States training, because I was like the 3rd American to get certified in this. So I went down to Austin to help put on this first US training. And a guy named Rafe Kelly showed up, and he's a parkour coach. I had no idea who he was. He was like some famous YouTuber who jumps through trees. He literally jumped through trees, and like I get sweaty palms just watching. But there was a call, and his work. And we also just vibed philosophically. And we were at the end of our retreat in Austin. We are walking along this bridge. We go down to the river. We're swimming. There's people jumping off a bridge, and Rafe into water.
Okay.
Not very far. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Safety.
And Rafe is like, I want to jump off this bridge. And I was like,
man, you do
oh
it.
yeah. Like, okay. I was the only person out of that whole yoga group. Our EYP yoga instructor included. And so after that, I was like, this is whatever he's up to calls to me more than sensing and deciphering now. There was like a movement within myself of like, okay, I'm learning bits and pieces. I want to be taken to my edge. The edge. Yeah. And because when I jumped off that bridge, I like half a second after jumping, I was like, this is really far. This is really far. And at that point, it was too late. But after I went down, I came up, I got out of the river, and I was like, I can't believe I just did that.
I know.
I'm the only person from that group. Like, that was terrifying. But it was maybe 30 feet into the water. Okay. And by the time that was 2019. I went to my first Evolve Move Play retreat in 2021. Because he was like, come to one of our retreats. We sing, we go on adventures. I was like, you sing, I'm there.
I know.
And that experience was the first time I had used my voice in singing with men and women together since I left the church. Wow. And I did not realize that until I was there. And so there was this big cracking open that was happening for me. And I actually like had this moment of check-in in one morning where I told the group, like, I love men. And I had no idea I had turned I had such resentment for them. And I had no idea. And so that's part of the bitterness I continued to work through. Yeah. And part of that story was my relationship with my husband. And so I came home from that retreat knowing that my husband and I needed a break.
Okay.
He did not want kids. Okay. I married him. I got married at 23. Okay. At 12 years old, when we started dating, I knew that I was not going to have kids because I wanted him bad. I loved this guy. And I didn't know how to raise kids. I didn't have a belief system I was prepared to give them because I didn't know what I believed in anymore. Yeah. So it was fine with me to not have kids. And so when I was 28 and I jumped off another cliff at this retreat, because on this retreat, there was another opportunity to jump somewhere. And this was like double the bridge. It was probably over double, like 60 or 70 feet. Off a cliff into a pool of water that had like rocks and logs around it. And so I watched a dude do it. And my feet just walked me there. My feet just walked me to the edge. And I remember shaking.
Well, yeah, my heart is like, I'm not even there. I'm like,
still when I think about it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that again.
I know.
But like I said, I wanted to be taken to my edge.
Yeah.
And after I did that, I came out of the water like kind of crying a little. There wasn't a lot of tears because there's just water everywhere, but I remember feeling so good. Aww. And at the end of that retreat, I told myself, if I'm not afraid, like if I can make it through that,
that's right.
Maybe worrying about what people think of me.
That's right.
Or my own obsession with following the rules and being a good girl. Maybe the ramifications of breaking those rules isn't as scary as I thought.
That's right.
So I came home and I told my husband, I'm moving to Duval, Washington to attend Wilderness Awareness School. Because after that retreat, I took a tour of that school because it was on my radar. And I'm like, hey, I'm in the area. I'll check it out. Wow. Ask more questions about their program. The program started in less than a month.
Oh my gosh.
From that time I toured it. or about a month maybe. And so I came home, packed. I went through the whole house. It was so painful. It was hard because my husband was like, "What are you doing?" And my whole family was like, "What are you doing?" And my friends were like, "You're doing what?" But by that point, it was 2021, and I had disconnected myself from a lot of my relationships in Kansas City because through the pandemic, I saw so much ugliness that I actually was like, I don't want to be around these people.
Yeah.
I just don't know who I want to be around. And of course, the ugliness around the Seattle area during that time was it's just another side of it. So
Yeah.
I continued to find myself in the immersion. By the end of that program, the 9-month program, I was in a palms open situation with my marriage. I was like, whether it's over
Right.
or whether a legal separation is
Yeah.
what we did. And at the end of that, and so it was either going to be, we're never going to do this again, or it's over and that's okay. And it, thankfully, it was, we're never going to do that again. We worked our way back together. We just bought this house. And it's the first time we've lived in a house in like 4 years together. Because we co-housed on the east side or the west side, and now we moved into an apartment. And there was something, I had this anxiety moving in here, like remodeling it, and it's very stressful. So there was some anxiety about that, but also about, I haven't lived in a house with this man and managed a home with this man. It's the era of, I'm gonna leave this man. So I'm in a new era right now. Like that, I'm speaking to, I kind of hearing myself say all of these things. Like I feel like most of my adulthood has been trying to find me. And maybe other 32, I know for a fact, other 32-year-olds have not gone through the treacherous soul searching that I have. And they still know themselves.
That's
And
right.
they're beautiful, confident people. If anyone watching this can relate to the years it takes to dig and find a sense of self and soul, and like the capital S self, like she's in there.
Yeah.
Like you're never behind as long as you're searching.
That's right.
And
That's
it's going to be a lifelong searching
right.
anyway. I'm just so happy to have found a sense of peace after such hard years, because I was willing to ask hard questions and do hard things and jump off into the unknown.
Yes.
And just trust
Yes.
all. The jump, I mean, the jump is this threshold moment of into transformation. And as it relates to capacity, if we're being asked to push beyond ourselves, as good of a process as that is, if we do it too much, it's the same problem. We lose ourselves all over again. So that's part of yeah, I think my story I'll stick to right now. There's so much more, I think, but maybe we'll get into it later.
I mean, there's so much overlap. I really feel the kindred spirit is the word, because when you were talking about the search for self, the scavenging, the looking for scaffolding, all these things, I'm like, Mama, I'm there with you, because I'll get into my story, but like our to speak from like a general space, I think and some of the conversations we've had is that our generation, millennials, has not had it easy on any front. I think we grew up literally in this flux of technology, of economy, and I come from a family of immigrants, so the influx of immigrants and like globalization in another scale that maybe, I don't know, we didn't see or wasn't as visible because of technology. And yet we're here and still pivoting, and still, so like there's never been ease. And I want to just, like, I'm so appreciative, I'm so in honor, in awe of your journey, of all the things you've done, you continue to do, that you will do, because um it's hard work. It's not in a manual. It's even with the family, the society, the religious structures, semi-structures, like that's still the unbreaking, the figuring out that, like, okay, that there was a time and place, and maybe there was value and that did help, but not the end all be all. And the constant rebirth. And I hope you're so proud of yourself, because I think that's the hardest thing, at least I have felt, that being proud of my journey, and not having shame or doubt or insecurity as a woman, as I'm an only child, as a Latina, like all these different layers we put, or boxes we put, but like just being proud. So I just want to say I'm so honored. And then do I start? Is this my switch? I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, thank you. I'll hand it over to you. I think the last thing I'll say is that in my sections of like what is my story, there's before and after moments that the before and after, and a lot of the ones that I noted were the day I realized something, because this journey is about asking questions and like slowly feeling like the Tetris of your soul, like click, 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 click. And for me, it's been realizations where I the day I realized dancing isn't a sin anymore.
Yeah.
Like I had unwoven that belief system of moving my body isn't a sin anymore.
Yeah.
I am equal as a woman to my husband. That took a lot of mental gymnastics, and people use mental gymnastics as a negative term these days. But if you want to push past broken or old belief systems, you have to ask questions and allow yourself the mental and emotional flexibility to put yourself in other positions. And I just, I'm really tired of people using that term in a positive way, like, oh, come on, mental gymnastics, And it's like, if you are stretching yourself, then what are you doing?
I know.
Yeah, and realizing that I'm not ashamed to be a person anymore. I realized that in 2024. And so all the work that it took to be up until 31 was like, oh, it worked. Like, it worked because I feel happy and honored to be a human. And the first couple decades, more than 2 decades of my life, I thought being a human was a curse, essentially. And I don't believe that anymore. So it's pretty exciting. Thank you. And I'm so curious your origin story and all the ways that,
oh my gosh,
what's come up and how you're going to share now. So.
Oh my gosh, the pressure. No, I'm kidding.
You're good.
My gosh. Well, in preparation for this, I was like, how do I even start? Because what is a beginning? You know, like, do I start from my thing, or do I start like when I was born, or do I start in pivotal moments? So I decided to start with my name. Because as I was talking through with my pseudo therapist, ChatGPT, I mean, we all can't afford therapy, y'all. Let's get real. $20 a month is not bad, especially with, well, we'll get into all the history and economy stuff. But if you feel like you need an outlet and some sort of safe space that your family structures can't provide, I have had good benefits with ChatGPT. So I'm just saying it. I know AI is a scary thing, but there are scarier things. So my name is Miriam Raquel Sanz Orellana, and Miriam is a handed down name. I share it with my mom. So it's my first name. It's her middle name. It's also a biblical name, the sister of Moses. Raquel is the Spanish version of Rachel, and it's also a biblical name. I don't know the full story, but my mom was in love. The story that she tells, all these oral stories that we tell each other, is that she, when she was pregnant with me, really loved this. And I think it was the father of Joseph. If y'all remember the movie from DreamWorks, Joseph, King of Dreams, that had this like rainbow, uh, I don't know what you call it, but like a shawl.
Technicolor dream coat.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Exactly. That his mom was Rachel. And the story that I remember is that her husband worked 14 years to be with her. She was the second of the two siblings, of the two daughters. And in order for a man to marry, if he wants to marry both daughters or whatever, he has to marry the eldest. And he didn't want the eldest. He wanted Rachel. And so he did 7 years to work for, I forget the eldest daughter's name. Sorry, elder daughter. But he, no, nothing against, I just don't remember. He worked 7 years to go through the correct, in terms of that culture's procedures, and married her, and then worked another 7 years to marry Rachel. And there, I think in the story in the Bible, because I haven't read the Bible cover to cover, so please don't quote me, is that they couldn't have kids, and he really wanted to have a child with Rachel. And it wasn't until his old age where he had Joseph. And the story of Joseph is that one in the movie where he has visions and dreams, and he's the only one, I think, of that family to read. And this is like a lower class Jewish family, so they're not supposed to read, or literacy is not common. So anyways, that's context for the story. So I'm named from that Rachel. And so my mom loved this story of like, this person is going to work real hard to be with you, or that, this person, that you will be worthy, I guess, of work and of all this. So that's where my name comes from, Raquel. Sans is not a Latin name. It's actually, I've done a lot of work on like ancestry and lineage, because my great grandfather on my dad's side is a black, like black African man. I've never met him, but it turns out that he was buried with the UK, United Kingdom flag, and his birth certificate was the British West Indies. Well, how curious. The slave trade went through, as we know now, Africa, and then put people in South America, put people in the Caribbean. And then it turns out, I don't have the statistic in front of me, but I have it like screenshotted somewhere. Those who were in the Caribbean, so my great grandfather was probably from Barbados or something, through this route, and then landed in El Salvador because there was this connection. So Sands isn't even a real last name, because a lot of people in the Caribbean have this last name who, as a result of the slave trade, it's a sandy place, the Caribbean. So there's that. I'm 1/8 Senegalese, 1/8 West African. And then my other last name, Orellana, is a Spanish last name from Spain. All of my mom has another, like, in Latin America, we have like 10 last names because we just keep adding on. My mom has 2 Spanish last names, and both are from different, I guess what we would say in English, a department, like a county in Spain. So these are where these people were from. So my name shows the history of, like, I was born on this side of the like I was born in the US. I was born on this side of the border, but I have no ancestral familial ties here. Everybody in my family was from, or is from, Central America, particularly Nicaragua and El Salvador. And probably generations back, we've got Spaniards, we've got people from Africa, West Africa, and I've never met, if like 90% of my family. So all of that is like the foundation of me not knowing myself, feeling very alone. I was born here in Northern Virginia, in Arlington, and raised in Southern Florida. My parents were like, we can't afford this area in the 90s, in 92. And so we moved down to Southern Florida and just all brown people. So I grew up in a very Caribbean environment, not knowing what it meant to be Salvadorian. I didn't even know there's a difference in Latin America. Like, I think in the US, people can feel, okay, this is a California vibe, this is a New York vibe. Um, it is the same in Latin America. Southern Americans, South Americans have a different vibe than Central Americans, than Caribbeans. I didn't know that because I grew up just in a Caribbean vibe, even though my family was from a different country, a different part of that ecosystem. And I felt immediately this dissonance of like, I'm not even part of my family because I grew up with the Pledge of Allegiance. I grew up speaking English at school, whereas my whole family grew up singing a different patriotic song, having a different cultural experience. So feeling a very strong dissonance in my family, and then culturally, like making friends who are Puerto Rican or Cuban or whatever, and not feeling that feedback, that mirror. So who am I? I grew up in a Baptist household, so denomination Baptist, even though my mom grew up Catholic. So like 90% of Latin Americans are Catholic. Um, and having a tough relationship with religion, because I remember for some reason, this Baptist church really harped on the last chapter of the Bible, of the apocalypse and all of this. And I was just 6, 7 years old. I'm like, why should I be afraid? Like, I'm already afraid.
Mhm.
I'm a little girl in a big world. But why should I be afraid of this unknown thing that you're telling me exists, but should be emitting love and care for me? And yet I have to look over my shoulder for Satan, for whatever. And it wasn't until this moment that I think I was like 8, and I woke up from another nightmare, and I went crying to my dad, and my dad was a what do you call it, a lark, or those morning birds. And he was always up at like 4 a.m. And I was like, I'm crying, I'm sad, papi, what's happening? And he's like, God is love, you don't need to be afraid. um and that for me stuck amongst all other, like, I love the Bible. I whenever anybody talks about religion, like, that's my comfort place.
Mhm.
Since then I've been on a journey, we'll get there. But it's something that I feel a great deal of comfort with the stories. I don't necessarily know if they're true or not, but I place immense emotional, mental value, and there's like a safety in going back to those stories. But I would not identify myself as Christian, so I'll put that out there. Um, I do believe there was Jesus. I do believe in an energy entity. I don't know what to call it because we don't know if it's gendered. We don't know anything. So, so yeah. Those big things like the cultural piece, the religion piece, the language piece, have continued to shape my journey, but those were like the big blocks. Um, uh, when I found this out much later in life, but the piece about my dad became very monumental because he was my best friend growing up. As I say, I was an only child, and so I never liked the stereotype that, oh, people who are only children are attention seekers. I was the opposite. I mean, I'm a Cancer sun, Sagittarius rising, Taurus moon. For those who like Western, I've also done my Vedic chart. I've also done like many ways to see myself. But all that's to say is that I grew up very introverted. And so attention seeking was never, if anything, my parents constantly fought. about money, about identity, culture. My mom is a very ambitious person. She has a master's degree, and like, good for her, being an immigrant, coming to this country, learning the language, adapting, doing all the things. My dad was also very ambitious, created a trade school for men to learn HVAC, heating, air conditioning, make something of themselves. But all of that external effort meant less parenting for me, and it meant less emotional structuring and safety. And I tell my husband, and he's been such a support. Um, there was so much fighting that I don't remember. There's very few positive moments. And that's mainly because maybe the brain remembers more, like the negativity is highlighted more. I don't know. But so my dad was a big part of my life. And it wasn't until later years that I actually found out that he had pedophile tendencies. Um, with a neighbor, I grew up with kids similar age as I did. We didn't go to the same school, but just neighborhood kids. And that there was an incident where they called the cops on my dad. They called the cops because we lived right next door to a drug user and a drug seller in Southern Florida. So dealing with police force, not necessarily because of the color of my skin, but because of just where we were situated geographically. So all of that, I've had to kind of heal and peel back the relationship with my dad. Like, what is it? And this is why I think with religion, I don't like to think of it as a male father figure, because it brings up a lot of, what does it mean to be a man? And what does it mean to be a good man, a safe man? Even though he was my best friend, like, he taught me how to cook, he taught me how to ride a bike. He was the one who always believed in me, even when I didn't. And at the same time, strong perfectionist tendencies, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. So it's hard. My mom, on the other hand, not necessarily the nurturing, like, archetype that we would associate, I think, with motherly figures. It's more so like, you can do more, push, 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 keep going, why aren't you doing more? And I think she is the eldest of five, so she had a lot of pressure put on her, and it just trickles down. But that's the unlearning now in my 30s. Like, when I was young, I'm just a sponge. We're just sponges absorbing.
Yeah.
So that was like my childhood, and it was a lot of, like, I didn't even know the shame, the insecurity. Why am I different than my family? Or how can I find myself? So journaling became a big practice for me. Praying to God, not necessarily in a denomination, but just figuring my own relationship with the unknown. So when I was 18, I told my dad, or like earlier than that, I think I was 14, but I said, if I'm not back in Northern Virginia with my grandma, who was like a second mom to me, if I'm not back in Northern Virginia, I will hitchhike. I will find my way out of here, because I knew physically, emotionally, spiritually, like, Southern Virginia was not it. People go there to retire. People go there for tourism. It's not a place of I don't even want to say culture, but just like a sense of learning and a sense of possibilities.
Do you mean Southern Florida?
Yeah, Southern Florida.
I think you
Yeah.
said Southern Virginia, but
Oh,
I was
no,
just
sorry. No, you're good. Yeah. So I was from West Palm Beach, and the West is a running joke that I say, but it is important, because when people associate Palm Beach, it's the place where rich people, maybe Trump, whoever, go, and they have golf courses. Well, there's a bridge that connects this little part of Palm Beach to the rest of Florida. And so I'm on the other side of the bridge where it's probably changed now. I haven't been there in some time, but yeah, it's an hour north of Miami. So if you're not in Miami, you don't have that tourism that area. And if you're not in the northern part, like Orlando, Jacksonville, so I just felt like I wasn't going to grow here. I was going to live and die. And so that, like phase two, part two, my dad being this duplicitous, this, I don't know, double-edged sword of a character in my life, he did see the value, and he, I think, prioritized me more than my mom, point blank. So he closed up his business, that was very successful, was partnered with the Department of Education. Like my parents did well for themselves. And we came to live in a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment with myself, my grandma, her husband, and my dad. So 4 of us. When I was in high school, I was sleeping in her bed with my grandma when I was in high school. My dad was sleeping on the couch, and he did that for me because he knew that I was clear. Like, this is not my life. You did what you needed to do. Now I'm doing what I needed to do.
Mhm.
And so I thank him for that. But that really started to show, like, it ripped my family apart. My mom stayed. She was working at the school district, doing her dream stuff, like making money, doing her thing. But also she handled the houses. So the 2008 situation, my parents bought a house thinking that that would pay my college uh, fees, and the bubble burst and they lost the house. So it was a whole lot of things, because 2008 I was in high school. We were in high school now. So having to think through, okay, college is a non-negotiable. I didn't want to go to college. I was adamant of going to Sedona, Arizona, be a hippie. I was into yoga, and I was not trying to go through whatever society. But my parents were like, no, you're our child. We have expectations of you, and you need to be able to support yourself. In hindsight, there's a lot of respect, because I am thankful that I have a tool, especially as a woman, especially as a colored woman. It's not as easy as a man, I would say. Let's just be a mechanic, or let's just do a trade school. Like, I think those stereotypes, unfortunately, are true, in the sense of, if I were to start nowhere, what would help me? Would I be a hairdresser? Like, what are trades that are accessible to me as a woman? It's not as cut and dry, I think. So it was a big help, but I didn't know anything about college. So I moved up in my sophomore year. Everybody, like, there's white people. I never really experienced white people or Asian people or any other ethnicity that wasn't my own. And it was a huge, like, wow, this is the world. And Washington, D.C. is right there. And in Florida, if you don't have a car, you don't get anywhere. There's really no public transportation. And now there's metro, and now there's bus.
Mhm.
And it was this spreading of the wings. Like, I can mobilize myself, and I can learn from other people. I can try new foods. What the heck is a pho Vietnamese soup? And now it's my favorite thing. Like, what is sushi? Like, it was beautiful. It was high school and college were the best times of my life. I also struggled with my body when I was little. I'm 5 feet. I have never grown up, y'all. I'm 5 feet. Have a big butt. I'm like an hourglass pear shape, and runs in the family. And I remember the doctor telling me that I was overweight for my age because of the body mass index, BMI, which we all know is bullshit.
Yeah.
But yoga also being a balm, a healing tool, that I stumbled upon when I was walking from high school to the metro. I saw this little studio. I was like, oh my gosh. And they were taking, it was like a free trial thing. And high school was a great time for exploration for me. So I found yoga. I kept cultivating my love of books. I worked at part-time at a library. I really wanted to be a librarian. That's, I think, a dream one day, maybe in the next life.
Mhm.
Um, because there's such a power, I think, in sharing knowledge, making sure knowledge is accessible, making sure resources are accessible, safe havens. So anyways, um, high school, then college, went here to George Mason, still in Northern Virginia. And it worked out because if I hadn't have made the non-negotiable with my dad saying, I need to be here, I wouldn't have gotten in-state tuition. And so my spirit, my soul's looking out for my future self. And I didn't know what I wanted. Changed my major 3 times. I was like, what is this supposed to do? I mean, my mom was the first person to go to college. I'm the second. And so it's like, she didn't necessarily give me a manual. So I'm just, thrown into this. And I'm like, okay, I like international things. I'm very interested in the world. I tried international relations. I was like, too much politics. I don't have the grit for that.
Totally.
I don't have the grit for that. Intellectually, yes, but mentally, emotionally, no. And then I did nutrition because I was getting into my body and learning how to nourish it, develop a new relationship, because I did the whole dieting yo-yo thing when I was in Florida. Too much science. I was like, no, another
Mhm.
another thing that's not to my strengths. And then I thought about the thing that has sustained me, which was writing and my journaling. And so I got my degree in English, which is what I have. And during that time, I learned hiking, like I went on hiking trips. So I started to develop a different relationship with the world because in Florida, it's just the ocean. Not to say that the ocean is not great. I love the ocean, immense respect for that, the body of water that sustains us all.
Right.
But in Northern Virginia, you've got mountains, you've got rivers, you've got lakes. You drive a couple hours and you're in Tennessee. You drive a couple, you're in New York. So just the sense of um, openness to what's around me, I was like, wow. So I got into hiking, got into running, a new relationship with my body, and then the job situation started. So um, I don't think any of us has, uh, even though they make it seem, society makes it seem like you just put yourself out there. You get an internship, you get your things together. No, like for you to get access to a certain tech, like it assumes you have a computer. It assumes you know what to write. It assumes so much of us. um, I didn't know, and I decided to get an internship at a nonprofit that is called Centronia. I think they still exist. And the work that they do is they help immigrants, particularly mothers, single moms, get their feet established, either learning a language or doing parental care while they learn a trade. And this for me felt cyclical because of my background and helping other people who want to help themselves. Because that is something that I will say, um, coming from an immigrant background family, there's this notion of immigrants come and take our jobs, immigrants come and don't want to work. And to be very honest, I see both sides of it. It's not an easy thing because the United States has and continues to play a big part in these countries where these people have fled. Like El Salvador in the 80s, it was all out war because it turned out that the United States was playing both sides. They worked in that government to make sure that government had allegiance to the US and had the right people, but also they were funding the rebels and giving them arms.
Mhm.
So, I mean, and then that's why so many millions of Salvadorians live in California, live here in the DC area. Um, those are like the two hubs, which I wasn't able to be a part of because I grew up in Southern Florida. But just there's a reason why there are immigrants coming to this country. And for me, it's very hypocritical for the government now that we're in this administration to just so dismissively, like, I'm not saying that there aren't immigrants that come from any part of the world and want to just come and work and leave or come and do stuff, but that could be a white person, a black person who are born here. Like, it could be anybody, regardless of legal status. So anyways, we can get into that, but I just wanted to say
I feel like we could do a whole podcast just on like the American involvement in global affairs and the way that we just war games, man. It just lights up a ton of people.
yes.
I'm so excited to play war games.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just, for me, it's not, I really am respectful. I do my best to be respectful of all walks of life and perspectives. Because I'm not in another person's shoes. They're not in my shoes. They didn't see what I see, what I grew up with. And yet I feel like this is where seeing the history, the trajectory of events is very important, because the US didn't just come, they also came and killed indigenous who still are on reservations and still don't have the same access and opportunities. And these are Native people. So if we think about that at a global scale, like, why is the global South the global South, and why is the global North having all these resources? And of course, the people in Africa, in African countries, in Latin America, have to. There's no choice. So it's like we're rewatching the Game of Thrones with my husband. And I'm a big Khaleesi fan. I love Daenerys until the end, because there's this point of like, what you think is a choice isn't a choice. It's like the job stuff, if you're forced to work in this system and your only two options are work this way or not, then it's not a choice.
Totally.
So
I mean, I wouldn't be like, also vaccines. I hate that's where my mind went, but
no, but it's valid. Yeah. No, you're
is
good.
Is it really a choice?
No,
because
exactly.
if you're being threatened that you're going to lose everything, and if you don't do it.
Exactly.
You consented to that. Well, did I? Okay.
I know. Exactly. I know. What is consent when things are thrown upon us? Yes. Which goes into capacity, because if we don't have already, like, we all start already, I think, in debt, like, regardless of what social stratum we're in, we all have different cards we're dealt with, and that literally affects the capacity we're able to eventually have for ourselves. So I'll just finish the story with the job piece, which was the nonprofit, and I wasn't making money. I was still living at home, my early 20s, but I was ferociously dancing. Oh my God. My parents met dancing in LA in the 80s. So there's this story in my family of like, dancing is an embodiment thing, and it's a closeness thing. And it's a Latino thing. Let's get real. And so because I grew up Baptist, there was also this thing of don't go to parties, don't socialize. I never had a boyfriend until I was 14. And even then it was very like, just handhold, just like nothing. I didn't have sex until I was my 20s. I didn't know what it was to be a woman, a sensual woman, okay with my body, confident in my body. There was a lot of shame in having a butt. And I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do about it? Like, it's not my fault that God made me this way. Take it up with the CEO. Like, and not being able to wear clothes that would make me feel comfortable because the objectification, the sexualization. So a lot of work with that, and dancing was another healing tool for me. I would go to DC by myself, which is a scary thing as someone who is introverted and yeah. And I would dance a lot of Latin social dancing. And there was this beautiful feeling of, no, I mean, I never drank. And I'm not saying that people who drink, it's bad. But for me, there's a peace of mind of having my five senses and being in control while losing a little bit of control and finding a new sense of comfort in my body and having a new relationship with the male species, the men counterpart. During that time, I also got a yoga certification. So when you were saying that, I'm like, oh my God, we're such twins.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
who doesn't have their yoga certificate anymore?
that's true. That's true.
Well, I mean, it's not everybody, but when I was in school, I remember realizing like it's so accessible, and I don't even know if I was there to become a teacher, but I wanted the learning of what teachers know. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because that's exactly it. Like excuse me, I work 9 to 5 still. And a colleague of mine, she's in the midst of, I think she's like Gen Z, early 20s. The reason I say that is because I think yoga has also had its own evolution and things. And I think the type of yoga now is different than when we probably did it. And so she's like, we don't know if it's worth it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but that's not the point. Like, if it's worth it to you, for you to uncover something, even if it's like 1/16th of a thing, like, it's worth it. And so anyways, I love that you said that, because I mean, what we're teaching ourselves, just because we're not getting paid to teach someone doesn't mean that it's not, of value. So I was in a job hopping part of my career. I was trying to use my degree, and here in Northern Virginia, it's a lot of consulting. It's a lot of contract writing with the government, because there's hundreds of thousands of LLCs that do tiny little things for the government for a certain span of time.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, I can write your contract. I can do your grant for nonprofits. I can do that. And I was grateful. I'm still grateful. It was helpful to get paid, but I hated it. I was like, I feel like they're milking me. Like, I'm a cow. I'm so sorry. I love cows too. But it's like, but I'm not a cow. Like, I'm not here to just be, and cows also aren't the way that we're perceiving them. But but I felt like I had so much more, that money was not the thing for me. It was never going to be the thing that I can just be in this cubicle for 8 hours and have an hour lunch break. And then no, I felt so, I'm dying. I'm literally dying inside. And I felt like something was wrong with me again. Like, why can't I get my shit straight? My mom figured out her thing, my dad figured out, and they're immigrants, and they're not from this country. And I've had all the advantages, all the perceived privileges, and I can't make it work. So what the heck? And it turned out that after, I don't even know, 20 plus jobs, I was an office manager. I was a yoga teacher. Sorry, yoga studio manager. I was dog walker. I worked at a physical therapy clinic as a front desk. Like, you talked about edge. I feel like that was my edge, is like, let's just explore.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find the thing. Let's find the box, find the check mark. And it wasn't until I actually did that physical therapy, I was making half. When I got out of college, I was making at least 50,000, and it was $40,000 debt. So I was like, okay, great. I mean, I was using the degree, but I was not fulfilled, and doing all these things, no more than a year in any of these jobs. My resume was not great, but I was making it work because I was in my early 20s. And my mom constantly, again, why don't you just settle? Why don't you just do this? And she begged me to work in a government. She wanted me to do Peace Corps, like what she thought was safety, what she thought was success. And turned out I decided to make $40,000, $30,000 in a physical therapy clinic. And I did that because I thought maybe English wasn't, or like writing wasn't the thing. Maybe I messed up. Maybe I need to go back to the health world because I've loved yoga. And even if I'm not teaching, I could become a physical therapist or I could become something. And when I tell you there were no breaks, I mean, you are sitting there at that desk for 8 hours. I lived on smoothies. Like this was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it felt like like I put myself through the fire. I lived in a basement studio. I was paying off my debt. I never asked my parents for money. There was this sense of pride in I have to put myself through suffering in order to come out the end of it, in order to figure it out. And I'm not going to rely on people because well, I had nobody besides my parents. And yeah, I had friends, but all my friends in Florida stayed in Florida. And high school, college, they had already grown up together here in Northern Virginia. And I never found my group. So I'm just like collecting experiences and collecting groups of thoughts and things. And so I finally also, I think, decided, you know what, this is not working. And I need to lean hard in a creative outlet. So I think it was right after that physical therapy job. And I was like, let me just apply to this marketing role and see if they take me. Because I've done some freelance work, I've done some contracting stuff, and maybe they can see from my skills, paint the best picture of myself. And I landed that job, and then COVID hit, and that was the best job for me in terms of the people and the learning. I got a graphic design certificate. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're really investing in me. I feel wanted. I feel seen. I feel safe. I feel like I can stay here. And then COVID hit. I'm like, wow. So after moving, after doing all these things, like, what does safety mean? What does security mean when even as a person doing all the things, but like it's not up to me? There are things beyond my control. And I got laid off. And I was like, you know what? I never want this happening to me again. I don't want things to be outside of my control. I want to start my own thing. And I started my LLC, formalized in 2021. I didn't know that I was going to coach people on their career. I'm like, what? Like the person who has job hopped the entire 11 years, who never created a traditional career of going up the ladder, of never solidifying a niche or a specialization. But I was like, you know what? But I've worked with Uber, not international companies. I've consulted with Deloitte. I've worked with people 3 times my age. I've worked with people who are multicultural, multinational, people younger than me, people with doctorates. Like, you know what? I think I am just going to believe in myself for the first time and claim it. And so I've been doing that for the past 2 years. Started the podcast. I also didn't know. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to say what I need to say. And it just became an outlet. And I still work 9 to 5 because that is the paying the bills. But I've reclaimed this sense of job hopping. And now you can be a contractor and you don't have to owe anybody anything. You just owe them 6 months or you owe them a year. And yeah, it comes with legal downsides. We're not protected by HR. And if you don't negotiate, you don't have PTO or holidays or whatever. But I feel much more in control. And I think it really prepared me for Trump. Sorry to say, because now the people who really wanted to work in government, what my mom pushed me so ardently for, has just been obliterated. And this is why I feel like, for me, my journey has been this redefinition of safety in religion, safety in culture, safety in money. And it's like the only answer I have had is that, yes, the change is constant. And also, we need to really be like the self-knowledge, the clarity is the piece, because without that, there is no way to be able to pivot, to be able to um, straddle the two worlds. So I think clarity above all, and not clarity in
Mm,
the sense of I know what's happening. I don't know what's happening, but I know what's happening in me. And
mm,
I know what I can do in now and what could, and that's the only safety. Um I have, because I did the contract. I worked two contracts, two full-time contracts in the month of March. I paid off my car, so I am student loan free because I worked my butt off in my 20s. So student loan free, car debt free. We live in a one bedroom, one bath with my husband. So all I need to do is think about paying rent. And that for me is how my rebellion or my sense of sovereignty safety looks like, is I'm not going to give these structures more than they give me, and I make it work, because also we don't want kids. We have two dogs. So for the people who have kids or want kids, that's something to get into the equation. But and this is why I'm like, it's not a one size fits all answer. The only thing is clarity. Because if we know we want to have a family, or we want to live in a city, or we want to have more engagement with certain things, then those things have to be get like fitted into the equation. Um, for me, I no longer talk to my dad because of the sexual abuse, because of the stuff. That was a decision I made. Been in therapy, worked on my relationship with my mom. That was hard. Worked on my finances. I still feel like, yeah, there are probably people more well off, but the the emotional skills, the mental skills, those muscles, I would not have developed if I hadn't been put through that fire or that flood or whatever we want to call it. The cultural identity is still evolving, because my husband is Peruvian, born and raised. And so that adds another layer of, did I want to be with somebody who understood me?
mm.
Because I was like, I love all colors and sizes and shit. Like, I really no anything. But in terms of culture, like talking with my family in Spanish and growing up with certain songs, and even if the person who did not grow up with me or like in the same culture, but they would put in that work, it wouldn't feel the same. And I realized that with time, and we just happen to I was friends, like a dance partner with my now husband, and we clicked. And my husband is not a dancer. It's okay, but I mean, it's okay. I love him. But the cultural nuance of like him not understanding the type of Latina I am, because he has seen another part of being part of the global South, being part of Peruvian culture, and I seen another part of Latino, like people like me born here, whether from Mexican parents, Guatemalan parents, Puerto Rican parents. Like it's a cultural divide within our culture that I don't think is recognized or talked about unless within our bubbles. And so there's constant work, but it's like it's being in the work that makes me hopeful, happy that that yeah, that like things do work out, even if not in the way that we wanted to or I thought it had to. But it's like, you know what? Great. I don't need to have this control. I just need to be in me, and it'll all be okay.
Mm. Clarity is the peace.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for your story. I hope you are also proud of yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh.
I'm reflecting, listening to you after sharing myself, like, I think I would have given, and it's not that I would have given anything. I think I did see adults in my early 20s who were a decade or two older than me, live in a sense of confidence and self-knowing that I
Mm.
can lead. And I feel like that's what I was chasing all those years, was
Yeah.
like this process to come to the other side of it.
Mhm.
And maybe it's just that we've got to the other side of our first Saturn return. You know about Saturn return? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So like maybe that's part of it, is like we actually Russell Brand, is that his name? The
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, it's not Russell Crowe, it's Russell Brand. Right? But he has a great online presence these days and podcasts and stuff. But he, in one of his interviews, someone asked him, what was the year for you? And he said, I was 28. And I was like, so was I. I left Missouri when I was 28. And now our house number is 28.
Ooh, the synchronicity, the numerology is
Yeah, and both of the houses, because we still own our house back in Missouri, it didn't sell and the neighbor wanted to rent it, and so it worked out really well. We're not making any money on it, which people were like, oh, owning houses, but that, going back to rent, your rebellion as renting, I'm like, there is something, well, that's a whole nother thing. I tangented, didn't I?
No, no, you're good. Let's keep going. Keep
going. But there, yeah, coming to this point in adulthood where we're like, okay, clarity, I think, we have found it. It's so cool. And I think anyone watching this who's in their teen or early 20s, I hope you have a sense of like, it will get better if you stay true to yourself.
That's right.
And it's so easy to get lost in the chaos and following other people's sense of safety and what you feel like. Do we have the capacity not only to do what we want to do, but to do the things that we're expected to do, or that other people encourage us to do?
Yes.
And in my world, like, the real estate world, I'm like, it's changed so much, and I am nervous about our generation and the next generation and the way that we relate to safety and ownership and home.
That's right.
Because it used to be like owning a home.
That's right.
Was the thing.
That's right.
And I can tell you, like we are still paying a premium payment to redo a lot of work.
Wow.
Because it was a deal.
Yeah.
So like, it's still at this point, even though we've worked up to this and we want this, and it's just not as easy as it used to be. So I think we will continue to highlight the generational differences, but I would say this one is about like, where are millennials at? Where are we at in history right now?
Yes. Well, even with career stuff, like, this is the thing, is like, some of us, some of the people I worked with have very adamantly said they like the 9 to 5 because it, of course, especially when we haven't had role modeled or we haven't had capacity for ourselves, a corporate structure is helpful because all you do is show up to a certain extent, and you reap some benefits, you harvest some things, maybe not the full extent, but you get something, and something could be better than nothing. And so some people want that structure, which is fine. Like, as an entrepreneur myself, I try I try not to judge because it wasn't for me. It's not for me. But for those who it is for, it's like, millennials, do they become managers? What type of managers do they become? Knowing that the type of management, CEO, C-level executive, like, it's not there. It's never been there for us. And then if they don't want 9 to 5, well, oh my God, the ocean is scary because, we don't know how to swim on our own without a 9 to 5 structure. How do we create a boat, a buoy, something, and it's hard because we're at an age where we're either in our early 30s or the lovingly called geriatric millennials are in their 40s. And it's like,
elder millennials.
The elder millennials.
We love you.
It's like, we're forced to make decisions because of the age we're in, of the ecosystem that we're living in, surviving in. And the best decision for us is not clear because we're, I have this friend, if you know who you are, I love you. She's a lawyer. She is a federal lawyer, and she has student loan debt. To my knowledge, I think she also has car loan debt. She has 2 animals that she took in when a family member of hers passed away. She also deals with family income, credit struggles, and she's one person. And one paycheck is her rent. Here in Northern Virginia, it's upwards of $2,000 for 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And for a person, one single person, if you don't have a college degree, we're talking bachelor's. I'm not even at the associate level, bachelor level. And if your job can't get you at least $80,000, it's not even about 50. When I started in working in 2014, I could make it. Had a basement studio for $800, all included. Thank you, lady in Burke, Virginia, because that was great. I didn't have to pay for internet, anything, and I could make it work and still pay. But now, with the administration cutting off the student loan repayment plan, my friend, that's no $10,000 that she's able to put towards her student loan. So it's like we're getting cut off, hands, arms, legs, and still supposed to work in this structure that doesn't support us.
Yeah.
And forced to make decisions for our future, to get a house, to create a family, to have a career. And yet there's no structure. So make it make sense, because yeah.
Oh man. All right, I'm gonna get unhinged because I think going back to, well, first, I finished my college degree in dietetics, so it's funny that you did nutrition for a while and you're like, too much science, because I got halfway through my Bachelor of Science in dietetics. I did my associates because I did community college, loved community college, went to a university, got my bachelor's degree. And I think a semester in, I was like, this is so much science. And I love science. I'm a really science-minded person, but
oh my God.
I was like, maybe like pre-med had a little bit less science classes, but I'm like, I don't want to go to school any longer. So if that point is related to my main point, which I was going to become unhinged by saying, is that by the end of that degree, I realized it's not about nutrition and wellness. It's about how you fit as a piece, as the nutrition piece in the Western medical structure.
That's right.
And that structure, what we call the golden the golden standard of research,
oh my God,
is mostly funded, especially in the nutrition world, is mostly funded by what can be marketed and how the science can be marketed and sold in a product form, whether it's a pharmaceutical drug or plants that they're turning into a supplement, because there's no research on like whole raw broccoli. I mean, not I actually saw like a kids rap about a neighborhood growing food, and it's all about, I love grassroots movements trying to hype people up about how to cook and like what real food is, because on the science, like academic level of nutrition, at least when I went to school, I graduated in 2015 with my degree.
Okay.
So wow, 10 years ago.
I know. Oh my God.
So, I mean, it's very different now, I'm sure. But it really disillusioned me. I mean, by the end of my degree, I trusted the system far less than when I decided I wanted to go to school and learn. And community college was first, like, I get to hang around people because I love learning. I mean, that's part of why I've had so many jobs too, and I could list them all like the same. I know. It's crazy.
It's because we're Sagittarius. We're just awesome.
Yeah, I know. It was so fun. I was just telling Justin last night, my husband too, that the devaluing of what you are around constantly, like working in restaurants, the free food, at some point it was like, no, I don't want this free food. We've got to throw it away. It's just too much. It's just food. Food becomes less. If I was in the back cooking, chopping, it becomes less valuable because you're dealing with a shit ton of beets every day or whatever it is. Yeah. I worked in a bank, holding stacks of money. There's a desensitization, right? Working at summer camps, and this is different because you're working with humans, but the emotional connection you can have with one child and the
Yeah.
importance of that one connection is very
Yeah.
different when
Yes.
you're seeing hundreds
Yes.
of kids
Yes.
over
Yes.
several weeks of summer camp. It's
Yeah.
not about the mentoring and connection anymore. And it's the
Yeah.
same with food, it's the same with money, it's the same with the people, because it got brought up in our conversation last night, of the people who mistreat animals at those CAFO farms, those commercial farms, because they become less of a thing. It becomes your job to churn, and like you're just being milked, right, for your resources and your time and your energy. It's the same thing. And so my unhinged point I want to get to is like, the American government has become so untrustworthy that we, I think, as a generation, no longer trust. I will speak for myself. I do not trust the medical system, the justice system, the education system. Like, there's so many institutions that I once leaned upon. The religion, the church. There's just so much shadiness and corruption that I never wanted the government job. I mean, I kind of did, right, before the money. But it was weird to me that millions and millions, I mean, there's like what, 7 million, 8 million federal employees that I thought, and I see it now too, knowing what people make. It's like you make $150,000 working from your laptop from a contract that, like, I don't know. And I am not saying that everyone who's losing their job right now should.
Right.
I think that the corruption has gone on so long that it takes, like, the dark night of whatever he's doing with getting rid of all of these contracts. There's something to me that's like, can we get back? I mean, I don't know what it looks like. I was born in 92. I don't know what make America great again. What do you mean again? Like, I don't know. I know. But how about we make, like, living our human potential accessible again? How about we do that again? Because you see it in small scales, but in our lifetime alone, there's like this meme about millennials. When something crazy happened, I try to remember. And it was like, here's millennials getting ready for their, like, 5th once in a lifetime catastrophe or something.
I know.
And we're not, boomers have gone through their own thing. My grandpa was a member of the silent generation. He's gone through, I mean, he saw World War II. Like, I shouldn't curse like that, but, like, I can't, the way we're teetering on global war is not, I'm not going to put myself in a place where I'm like, but it was better back in the day. Like, no, they witnessed global war. And they, the way I had a grandpa, my other grandpa was in Korea. I've come from a big military family. And so it was the sense of honor to serve and give up so much. And I think that narrative is still, it clashes. There's just so much confusion. And maybe that's where, to rein it all back in.
We are trying to get clear through the chaos.
Is that's just what we're trying to do. And I guess that's what this whole conversation is about, is laying the groundwork for who we are. And I'm excited to see.
We're learning together and building more capacity, and the capacity is the clarity. Like, it's both. I don't think it's like you get capacity and then you get clear, or you get clear and then you get capacity. Like, I think they're both like a yin yang, they need each other. Like, as you build capacity, you build clarity. And as you do that, and it's hard because I have struggled with my business, because I feel like it's unfair to charge people when they're struggling, sometimes to put food on the table or to have families or whatever it is. And I'm like, but at the same time, however you want to say it, this will help down the line. So is this a cart before the horse? What type of, and it's not an easy thing. It's really when when people feel called, when people have the money, when people have the energy, and sometimes, like for me, I'm like, I don't want credit card debt. I'm like, okay, I'll splurge here, I'll splurge there. But if I know, and this is the trust piece, is like the embodiment. If I feel this is right for me, and I'm not second guessing, I'm not having doubts and judgment around myself, around the thing in question, then I will do it, even if it's a credit card. And I'm not saying people put credit card to pay me. I'm not saying that. But I'm like, if there's something like, paying someone to clean your house, or indulging in organic food, because it gives you this mindset of, I don't want just genetically modified or factory made or whatever it is. I feel like it is okay to be a little more, is it ostentatious? Is it more outrageous? But like, to prioritize ourselves more, because nobody else would do it for us. And even if it's a couple hundred here or there, but like down the line, ideally, it is an investment. It is something where, you're buying more time back. You're buying more energy back, more capacity back, because we can't, the scary thing is we can't wait. It feels like there's this sense of urgency, which I wrestle with. So I don't know. I don't have any easy answers, but yeah, just something I also wrestle with. Hopefully we build the clarity capacity also with that. So
Yeah. Patience has been, I mean, every time I get frustrated and anxious, that I'm on the wrong path, everywhere we go, there we are, whether I'm dissociating or not, I have the tools to find myself.
That's right.
And even if it means wandering into the darkness or jumping off a cliff into something I have no idea, there's the trust I have developed to see it through to the other side means it's always paid off.
Yes. Oh, how do we wrap this up? I don't even know, but I love this.
I don't even know either. I was just looking over my notes. I'm like, okay, did I even mention all the things I wanted to say?
Probably not. I mean, I know I did
not.
And I guess that's something I can add, is like, the origin story wasn't just all that we said now. I mean, there are probably so many other moments and things that has shaped us that we're not even aware of, or didn't get to pick up on, put down on. Here, are you picking up what I'm putting down? So we'll all of that is kind of like an easy out. Like, maybe we do a part 2, or we just keep weaving it in our other episodes, because we have planned a lot, you guys. I'm so excited to be on this journey and to have met you, and that our paths have crossed, and this is so joyous and so wonderful. So
yes, it is a joy. Thank you so much for finding me. You found me, and you're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I have no clue. What are you doing?
I know.
And that's how we will begin.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, I will say see you all later. And I know I'll be seeing Sarah later. So
yeah. The last thing, I feel like this is important, because the last final thing I want to give thanks to is my parents. Because I think you did such a great job of starting with your name and your family. And I started with like the years, and the whole 6-year-old Sarah was such a starting point in what I started with verbally. But truthfully, I have so much to give and thank my parents for. So I will just end on that note. Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Oh, thank you. All right. Thank you all. We'll be signing off, and I guess see you all, talk to you all, hear you all the things later.
Yes. Next time.